Christmas at Crippled Children's Hospital and School was always kind of an interesting time. Generally, right around Thanksgiving, a little before often, they would start preparing for the Christmas program. Crippled Children's always put on a very large and intricate Christmas program. Generally, there were three different plays, if you will, put on. Uh, the younger children, the middle-aged children in the middle school, etc., and then the high school, and there was some crossover here and there. And in fact, one year I got very lucky because one of the things, whenever you had practice, of course, you didn't have class, and I got cast as Santa Claus in the little children's play. And so I got to get out of class during that time when they had their practice. And I also got to get out of class when the high school students and the older kids had their practices. And I got to just kind of screw around and basically do nothing during that time and stuff. And it was kind of interesting to be Santa Claus because part of my job, if you will, was to make sure and prompt the little kids if they, forgot their lines or missed their cue or something like that. And my job was to kind of make up for, fill in or do some impromptu to replace it and stuff. And I think it went relatively well. And I remember one year I got really, I guess I thought pretty lucky. I got to play the wind in The Little Match Girl, and what the wind was is the one who ran around blowing out the matches, in fact. So I was, in a way, kind of the villain, but I also was sort of like her friend and stuff on there, and she would talk to the wind and kind of in these little soliloquies and things like that, and I would be there, as the antagonist in a way and stuff. And I was on stage pretty much the whole time during that program. And I didn't really mind that much at all. Not that I was a star or wanted to be on stage or anything like that. I didn't at all. But the girl who played the little match girl, Penny, I kind of had a bit of a crush on her. And so I really did not mind getting to be on stage with her pretty much the whole time. Also, in practice, we sometimes even just the two of us would do most of the practices because we had the bulk of the lines between the two of us. Another year we did some other type of plays and stuff, and remember that I was one of the three wise men or the three wise guys, and it was a play about putting on Christmas plays, as I recall. And one of the things that always stood out to me about that one was Tony Pepe, who was from Mobridge, sang the song Silent Night in Lakota, which I have to say, honestly, became my favorite version of that song ever. And I always thought it was a bit ironic because Tony wasn't actually Lakota. He was Cheyenne. And I always did think it was a little strange that they didn't have Elvis Tail sing it because he actually was Lakota and he was there at the same time. But anyway, maybe they didn't realize that, but we sure did, and I did, and it was interesting and stuff. They also decorated the school to a really great extent, and I still enjoy Christmas decorations and going around and seeing them and things like that. And they had a big Santa and his sleigh that they put up on the roof, and they had these things that they hung down from the ceiling all over the place in the building. And most of the doors had some sort of decorations on them. I remember that they did the classroom doors with wrapping paper, the shiny kind of wrapping paper, and so the doors were all wrapped up as presents and things like that. I really enjoyed. They had these individually twinkling Christmas lights, red, blue, green, that they would put in garland around the outside of the building, all over the building, and in particular up front, in the front lobby. And honestly, I could sit there in that front lobby, staring out the window at those and watching them twinkle just for hours and just sit there contemplating and thinking, and it really was a very relaxing and enjoyable time there. So it Christmas and then of course the other thing that we did was that we'd have different Christmas parties and things like that. A lot of groups wanted to throw, a Christmas party for us just because. And I don't think I appreciated them maybe as much as I should have at the time. One though that always stuck out in my mind was the Elks Christmas party, and they would come around, and they actually got presents for us, and the auxiliary would come around, and they would get a list of things from each of us. They would come to each of us and a list of things that we might want for Christmas and things like that, and it wasn't, that wasn't such a big, it never was anything really big or fancy or nothing like that. Uh, I remember one year when we did that, though, we were there and they were kind of holding us there a little bit longer, and it was kind of, they kept saying there's a surprise coming and stuff. And it turned out Andy Williams and Roger Miller were in town, and I knew who they were. I knew Roger Miller had a number of songs out that I did know and did appreciate and stuff. King of the Road, for example. Andy Williams was more someone that my mom and dad enjoyed, and my mom had all of his records, or many of his records and stuff like that. So he wasn't quite as thrilling as Roger Miller was to meet and see and stuff like that. It was interesting when we went to the Elks Christmas party. They put us in the back of a moving van, and not strapped in or anything. They just loaded us up, took us there. And that particular time, when Andy Williams and Roger Miller came, we got back to school after the party, and then they said, now we've all been invited to go to their concert that night at the Sioux Falls Arena. So the older kids, including myself, loaded back up. This time, though, we did go in the school cars and station wagons and things like that. So it was really kind of an interesting time, and one of those things that I got to do there.